Hello, I'm Jana, and welcome back to the Crafty Corner. This week, we're going to be creating to the theme of How Scary Was That for this week's Funky Junky Inspiration Avenue blog. Now, for this theme, we're going to be deep diving some of the Tim Holtz Idea-ology Halloween. This is going to be fun, and we actually did a little bit of prep work for this make last week. Now, today I'm going to be doing the creation of the main focal point, which is going to be a very scary and enchanting spooky tree. So we're going to start with that, and if you'd like to see exactly which supplies I'm going to be using, go ahead and pause here. All right, let's head over to the Crafty Corner. Today we're going to start the assembly process for the main focal point, and that's going to be inside this awesome snow globe. So we already altered the base, we painted that black and added a bit of crypt paste. As we can see, we've got quite a bit of space on the inside. So I'm thinking we're going to be making a spooky Halloween tree. So to start the process, we're going to need some wire. This is about 14 gauge wire, and this is just some basic aluminum beading wire. Now I'm doing a rough measurement of approximately how tall the snow globe is, and I'm giving myself a little bit of extra space. So I'm cutting these at roughly 10 inches. So we're just going to take our jewelry pliers and we're just going to snip off a whole bunch of pieces. I'm going to start out with 5 pieces and we're just going to see how much that adds up to. So I'm just stacking these end to end, kind of doing a rough measurement and then snipping each of the pieces off. That way I'm going to have a nice bundle and we will be able to start our tree. Okay, so I ended up snipping 31 pieces of wire. That seems like an appropriate number for a Halloween project. So now we're just going to take that bundle and we're going to twist. I'm leaving approximately 2 inches at the base and about 3 at the top free from that initial twist, because we're going to turn those extra untwisted parts into tree roots and tree branches. So for the base, I'm just segmenting off 4 different chunks, and we're twisting that into 4 different bundles to form the roots of the tree. Now, the roots are definitely way too long, but I can rough size that out on the base and cut that down to size. Right now, we're just kind of getting the shape of the tree, trying to get a feel of how this is going to be, and trying to get an initial look for our foundation. Okay, not bad. We've got our twisty roots. That is definitely going to be nice. And I just want to kind of flatten out the bottom and make sure it's going to be fairly stable. Now for the trunk, I'm trying to get a good twisty kind of gnarled vibe going. And yeah, I think I'm liking the way that looks. And then we're going to split the top piece off into sections, and I'll twist those to make the branches of the tree. Okay, not bad. So we're just checking this out on the base. I'm doing a rough measurement and we're just snipping off the little bits of excess. And that's going to give us a pretty good idea of how much we're going to need for the tree roots. So we're just going to snip, and I'm just going to keep turning the base and trimming until I've got my rough idea of the tree root placement. Okay, so that is looking pretty good. One last snip and we'll be all set for trimming this part. All right, sweeping aside the little extra pieces. Now we're going to turn our attention and start making the branches. Just taking a look, making sure everything is still good. All in all, not too bad. So, still just doing a little bit of bending. I'm hoping that these roots are still going to be a bit visible when we place this down and start camouflaging the base with different mosses. Okay, checking again, making sure everything's good. I'm definitely loving that little twist that I've got going in the tree trunk. That's going to be pretty cool. All right, so I'm sectioning off the first segment for a tree limb, and I'm just going to twist that maybe about halfway, and then we're going to split the tree branch again. I kind of want to do the twists for the thicker limbs, and then we're going to branch off to make smaller branches and twigs. And I'm hoping that this is going to give the tree a fairly dimensional look. Okay, so a little bit more twisting. We're starting to get our branches. We're definitely starting to get more tree vibes here. Now, I love making these trees because they never come out the same way twice. The wire is going to always bend differently, and just the branch patterns are going to always end up just a little bit different. And the entire effect of the tree completely changes depending on the gauge of wire that you're using and how many strands you've added to your tree trunk base. Okay, so now I'm starting to do some of the smaller twists, and we can definitely start seeing some tree branches. Okay, here is the finished twisted tree. I might need to do a little bit more trimming on some of the branches, but that is okay. Right now, I want to focus on attaching the tree base onto our cork base. So to attach the tree, I'm going to be using a combination of super glue and hot glue. We're kind of just going to see where this lines up. It's going to leave a bit of an imprint, and then I will definitely need to go back in with more hot glue because it's not going to dry fast enough. Okay, well, let's go grab the hot glue. So with the hot glue, I'm just going to be securing the base of the tree directly onto the platform, a little bit under, a little bit over, and hopefully with the combination between the super glue and the hot glue, this tree won't be going anywhere. It needs to be very well anchored, especially for the next part, because once this is fully anchored, we're going to start adding some lights, because this, of course, is going to have to light up. All right, well, let's go ahead and see how that base is doing. So while we're at it, I also decided to add all of that moss to the bottom around the tree. This is going to help camouflage some of the hot glue that we've laid down, and it's hopefully going to help the roots look a little bit more tree-like and kind of blend in, because right now they are sticking out like crazy. So the moss that I have here is just a random collection, and it's some that I got off Amazon. It's a basic crafter moth, and I really like the little purple pieces that were in the bag. That seemed like it would be a perfect addition to this spooky Halloween scene. So we're just going to go around and add the moss in. I've also got some longer brown pieces which will look great and give some contrasting texture. So we're just going in, poking that in with the die pick tool, and that should give us a great foundation to start work on. Now that our base is complete, it's time to start adding in some of the Idea-ology Halloween tiny lights. So before, I'd pre-drilled a hole in the bottom of the space, and we're going to be threading the tiny lights through that hole. That way I can camouflage the switch around back of the snow globe. So it looks like I've got a little bit of hot glue gunked in there, so we're just going to take the drill and I'm going to reopen that hole, and then we'll be able to get our lights into there and start lighting up the tree. Okay, taking a closer look. We should have this ready in just a moment. So I'm just going in with that drill a second time, clearing out the hole, and hopefully that's going to take care of any of that residual glue ooze. Okay, so now we're just going to thread the light through the base, and I'm just going to pull it through. We're going to tuck that other cord out of the way, and I will conceal the switch after we have the main focal point all assembled. Okay, so pulling this through, and the plan is to wrap the lights around the tree structure. I'm going to start by wrapping around the tree trunk, and then I'm going to try to wrap around the branches and spread the lights out as best we can. Now, I kind of want to keep the lights as concealed as possible. They aren't really going to be visible once we are done with the tree. The point of the lights is going to be the illumination. And this is going to be the really pretty purple set. So I'm hoping that with the current plan, this is just going to shine really brightly after we have all of our lights figured out. So we're just kind of weaving in and over and around the tree branches, and we're just going to see where we end up. And hopefully I've got enough of the light strand to get pretty good coverage on the tree. All right, let's go ahead and put the rest of this on fast forward. Now that our tree is wrapped, we need to remove that little plasticky bit from our light switch. So we're just pulling that out, and let's go ahead and turn on the lights. Ooh, I do love that purple color. It is so vibrant. That is going to be perfect for the look that I am going for with the tree. Okay, now on to the next step. We've got our lights, and now it is time to add a whole bunch of bubbles. I want this tree to look completely otherworldly. So hopefully between the bubbles and the lights, we're going to be getting a very cool mystic type look. So I'm going to be using a combination of hot glue, super glue, and glossy accents to hold all of these bubbles in place. And I'm just going to hopefully try to build a fairly solid structure and try to connect all of the bubbles in and around the lights so that we get a really cool effect. So to start, we're going to be using some of the larger bubbles at the core of the tree. And I'm hoping that this is going to give us a really solid foundation that we can work off of. So we're just going to go ahead and start placing some of the first of the larger bubbles together. And then we will definitely throw this on to fast forward and see where we end up. So here we are. That is looking really cool. We've got over a package of baubles on here, and oh my word, look at that with the light. Too cool. I've definitely got that ethereal, otherworldly kind of look going. I am super happy with this. We've got the bubbles pretty well clustered at the center, and then we have some of the smaller bubbles on the outer branches. This is better than I'd even hoped for. So I'm really happy with this. Now I need to do something to camouflage some of those exposed wires. I don't like them like that. That silver is kind of messing up the look I'm going for. So we're taking some of the mummy cloth that we had earlier dyed a nice black, and we're just going to twist that in and around the tree branches. I want to have this kind of tattered look with bits of string that hopefully are going to look kind of like moss dripping off the tree. That should help to hide the wires and give a more textural feel to the tree. So I'm just going to kind of work my way around, and I'm going to continue shredding pieces of the mummy cloth. It's going to give this great tattered look, and I'm going to be using the Sizzix die pick in order to tatter the cloth. And for glue, we're just using collage medium. So that should keep everything in place as we go around the tree. All right, so we're just going to poke little bits here and there, trying to camouflage the wires, trying to fill in some of the empty gaps. Let's keep working and see where this goes. So let's bring our glow back and see how things are. So off camera, I did put this inside the snow globe. All we did was take the tree branches and squish them very, very closely together, and then I was able to slide the dome over the top of the tree. Then, taking the Sizzix die pick tool, I went under and took each branch and pulled it down a little bit so that we could get a much better spread on our spooky tree. And the results are pretty darn good. Let's just go ahead and turn this on for a moment and see how that looks. And that is just so awesome. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do will be to seal up the dome. And to do that, I'm just going to be using hot glue, and then we're going to cover the gluey mess with some velvet trim. So we're going to go ahead and kick this on fast forward as we start to take the hot glue, and I'm going to just be running a thick line around the base, and then we're just going to seal this down the best we can. Okay, let's take a closer look at the base. So it's definitely a hot mess right now. That's okay. We'll get rid of the glue strands, and we're going to cover up a lot of that glue ooze with some of the velvet trim. But the main thing was we wanted to get the globe sealed so that it's going to stay in one place. It's looking good. We don't have any gaps. It's still kind of setting, but that's okay. So now we're going to take some of the velvet trim, and I'm going to be using the black. That's going to be a good match for the base. So we'll just go ahead and pull that out. And again, we're going to just attach that with hot glue. So let's grab some of that. I think we're just going to do rough measurements right now. So let's see. Just kind of looping this around here and just trying to get a feel for how much we'll need. I think I want to start from the base and work my way up. Okay, so if we have a bit of overlap, that is going to be okay. So let's just go ahead and cut this, and I will give you a measurement of approximately how much we need for the absolute bottom layer here. So the piece that I cut is coming in at 11 inches. So again, we're just going to toss this on fast forward, and I'm going to be working my way up. It looks like it's going to take approximately 3 layers so I can get this part covered as well. And hopefully the more hot glue that we put on there, we'll be able to even out these very unsightly bumps. But that's okay. We can always zap it with the heat tool if we need to in order to remelt some of that hot glue. All right, let's get gluing. And here we are. This is our completed centerpiece for our How Scary Was That Halloween project. I am so thrilled with the way this tree came out. It's definitely got some creepy vibes. I'm loving the bits of fabric hanging off of the tree. And the base, it's not too bad. We've got a nice velvet trim, and that should be pretty solid. Okay. So, thank you so much for joining me here today at the Crafty Corner for part 1 of the How Scary Was That Funky Junky Inspiration Avenue. So, we'll see you in part 2 shortly. Until then, happy crafting!